Welcome to The Runner Soul, the podcast where running meets science stride by stride. And I am your resident podiatrist, Sharon Miller, and I'm here to give you tips and hints and help you be a better runner and also run without injury. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to The Runner Soul. That's the podcast where we bring you running meets science stride by stride. And I'm Sharon, your podiatrist of 20 years. So you're very welcome. It's very exciting for us this morning because we have a very special guest. And we have Ben Tagoe with us today. He is the CEO of the Apostles of Change, a relationship expert, a life coach, podcaster, and author of many books. Now, Ben is very passionate about relationships and about helping build greater bonds in relationships. And, sometimes it's just all about the little things. So, hello, Ben. How are you today?
Hello, Sharon. I'm very great, thank you. Yourself? How are you?
Yes, I'm very good. So today
Wonderful.
We're going to be
Thanks for
talking
having me.
about the connection between physical health and mental health and resilience.
Mhm.
And, mindset plays a big part in all that, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. The two basically work together. One cannot do without the other. The two need each other for the person to function well. So yes, they're really very important.
Yes. So we're going to talk about stress, because that's a big thing that people are facing today, and burnout, motivational tips. I'm sure you have lots of motivational tips for us, and mental fatigue. We all get there, and just your general emotional well-being, and why movement affects the mind. So you can help us with all that. So tell us a bit about yourself, Ben, and what you do.
Okay, thank you very much for having me one more time. I am Benjamin Tagoe, the Apostle of Change. And just as the name is the Apostle of Change, I inspire change. I challenge belief systems and patterns. And so basically, I'm a life coach. I deal with life in general. However, I focus more on relationships. And when it comes to relationships, I try to narrow down very importantly to family. Even though I talk impactfully and passionately about relationships, I also focus a lot on parenting and on family, because I believe that as human beings, we are relational beings. And so once your relationships are not intact, your relationships are not right, most of the times your whole life is in disarray. And just like we're talking about today, your mental health, your physical health, all these are impacted when you don't have healthy relationships in your life. So I focus a lot about relationships and how to start, maintain, and sustain healthy relationships. Basically, that is what I'm passionate about.
Yes. And of course, people often separate the mental and physical health when they actually influence each other so greatly. And, so it's very important to move. And that's why I encourage runners and I help runners, because, running and getting outside can really help your mental health and to give you energy as well to be able to do running and, keeping fit, going to the gym, just basically been out there connecting with the world.
Yeah, usually many people feel mental resilience is all about motivation, encouragement, mental strength. However, it is mental resilience is not just about these things. It's also about your physical health, because as I said before, the two impact each other. Your mental health, positive mental health, impacts your physical health, and your physical health impacts your mental health. And so the two need to be worked hand in hand. And once you have the two intact, they also impact your emotional well-being. So for you to have a holistic well-being, you need to focus a lot on your mental health and also your physical health in order to have a good emotional health. Because in the absence of a good mental health, a good mental well-being, you cannot have a good emotional well-being. And in the absence of a good physical well-being, you may not be able to have a good mental and emotional well-being. And this is why it's very important to focus on your physical health as well as your mental health.
Yes, definitely agreed. Just for our listeners out there, we'll give your details at the end. And what kind of people do you generally coach?
I like I said, I focus on life, humanity. So anyone who needs my support and needs my help is welcomed. However, as I said, I like to narrow down on relationships. So relationships in general, anyone who wants to strengthen their relationships, wants to break a cycle of unhealthy relationships, I am the man. And the reason I'm saying I'm the man is because I don't just pick on the leaves and the stems. I try to go to the roots of the issue. I try to go to the foundations. And that is why, as I said before, I deal with belief systems and patterns, not just the actions and reactions. Because the roots, which is the belief systems, the foundations, and the patterns, are what influences the reactions and the actions. And once we're able to deal with those, then the actions and reactions will definitely change. And so I focus more on building healthy relationships and challenging thought patterns and belief systems.
Excellent. And I guess, Benj, probably the most important relationship you'll ever have is obviously with yourself. So I guess you've got to start with yourself first, haven't you?
Definitely, definitely. It is very important for us to focus on self. And usually I like quoting. I'm not really a music person so much, and I'm not really, too much, but usually I like quoting Michael Jackson, one of his lyrics. I don't have the lyrics in full, but in one of his lyrics, he said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
I love that
Preceding
song.
that phrase, yeah, preceding that phrase,
Absolutely.
he has said that I want to make a change. I want to change the world. But before I can change the world, I have to start with the man in the mirror. Who is the man in the mirror? The man I see in the mirror when I stand in front of the mirror is Benjamin. So if I'm starting with the man in the mirror, it means that I need to start the self-care with me. I need to start the love with me. I need to start with me, and then I can now dish out. If I don't start with me, then what exactly am I going to dish out? Because I give what I have and not what I don't have. And so if I don't have a good general well-being, then definitely I won't be able to give that to my loved ones.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, the kind of runners that I see, sometimes they're overtraining, they have burnout, they're, trying to push through pain because they're trying to prove something. They ignore the warning signs. So, what advice would you give for those people?
Usually,
Because
it
your body and your
it's
mind
very
are, oh, sorry. I was just going to say, your body and your mind, it's constantly communicating with each other, aren't they?
yeah, it is very broad because individuals have their own motivations for doing what they do. And so when it comes to runners burning out, over exercising, ignoring warning signs, it could be as a result of many things. Number one, they could be stressed. Now, if they are stressed, what is causing their stress? Because many a times people use running, work, exercises, gym, eating, and all those, some of this stuff as a getaway to try
Yes.
and numb the pain, to try and subdue a certain kind of emotion or thought. And so when I encounter people like that, like I said, I try to go to the roots. What is the root? something is causing that person to overwork themselves.
Mhm.
Something is causing that person to overburn themselves. Something is causing that person to overdo the running. And so, what is that something? Could it be failed relationships? Could it be financial issues? Could it be family challenges? Could it be personal belief systems? Could it be religious belief systems? And so I try to go to the roots to find what the root cause is. But many a times it is as a result of stress, which is stemming from any of these issues, which has to be dealt with.
Yes, and I guess sometimes it might be a combination as well.
Exactly.
Combination of things,
Exactly.
yes. And then, of course, one affects the other because we've all been in situations where we've had jobs that are stressful or jobs that we didn't like or bosses we didn't get on with. And of course, you
Yeah.
don't just close the door at work, you bring all that home with you. And then you sort of offload that onto your family, your partners, and it doesn't help for healthy relationships because it's just too much of a burden. So you can help people
Exactly.
with this sort of thing because, of course, some people see coaching as a woo-woo American thing, but it's not really, is it? Because, like some of the most successful people, some of the top athletes, they've gotten to where they are through coaching because we all need somebody to sort of metaphorically hold our hands because then we need that push, to be able to, reach our goals quicker and as fast as possible.
Definitely. So many a times, interestingly, I believe that if you have grown beyond a certain age, many of the things that you have to do, you already know. There are only a few things that you need to add up to excel in that field. But whatever most of the things that you need to do to have the change that you're looking for, you already know. The challenge comes to now the willpower, the consistency, the motivation. And many a times this is when we need someone. You need a coach, you need a mentor, you need a friend, you need a guide who can help you to be consistent in monitoring and also in monitoring your actions. That is where we come in. We come in to polish what you already know, to add up to what you already know, and then to be like a gate watcher to watch over you for you to do what you have to do in order to get to where you need to get to. That is
Well,
that is why many a times coaches are very necessary, just like a parent who has an oversight over you to help you get to your desired destination.
excellent. Because I guess left to our own devices, we tend to self sabotage, don't we?
Very true.
Making you accountable, pushing you, no excuses. Because we all suffer from excuse-itis. It's rife, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I say it. I usually say it has a lot to do with our default setting. Remember that our society shapes and forms us. And many a times, our society doesn't groom us into accountability and responsibility. Our society raises us. And because that becomes our default setting, it is very easy to fall into self destruction. And this is one of the main reasons why everybody needs somebody. We all need guides, friends, coaches, inspirers to help us stay on focus. Because it's many of us, that is not our strength because of how we were raised, because of the foundations that have been established. But those who had the privilege of being trained right from childhood, it also becomes a default setting. And so you notice that if anything happens, they easily fall into their responsibility, and their responsibility and accountability, which becomes an easy thing for them to do. But for most of us, it is not the case. And that is why many of us need coaches, we need mentors, we need guides in our lives.
Yes, because I guess like probably most of the population probably don't move enough, and they
Mm,
see they see movement as a sort of punishment. But if they could just start
Yeah.
off just like little steps, it doesn't take much to keep fit. It doesn't take much to like change that mental state, but it's just taking those little steps.
Indeed, exercising is not easy. Running is not easy unless when it becomes a lifestyle for you. Going to the gym is not easy. However, the benefits of these things cannot be overlooked. Sometimes the therapy one needs is actually running. Sometimes the therapy that the person is, instead of going to pay a psychologist or going to pay a coach like me or a coach like Sarah, what you need is just to run for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, running for 45 minutes. And that helps to rejuvenate your mind. It helps to shed off the stress. I usually do running, I do walking. I had a little of injury, so for some time I wasn't going to the gym, but I still do my walks. I still get in my steps. And I noticed that every time I take a step outside my office and I take a 45 minutes walk, 1 hour walk, 1 hour, 30 minutes walk, and I return, I feel rejuvenated. I feel re-inspired. And when I sit behind my computer, the ideas just flow. A lot flows. If I'm doing editing, I feel more energetic and I'm just editing my book because most of the times I self-publish. So the benefits of exercising are enormous on the mind and on the body.
Yes. And I mean, you don't have to be like, competing. It can be something small, it can be go to the park and just run around for like 15 minutes. So it doesn't have to be huge, does it?
That is very true. And that is also another thing that we need to deal with: competition. Many of us compete unnecessarily, and that also feeds into our stresses and our challenges. I believe that it is not wrong to compare, but you need to do healthy comparisons and healthy competitions. So just like you're saying, what is most important is to make walking and running a lifestyle.
Mhm.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself for weight loss and all those things. No, those things, a good mental health, a good weight, a good physical body should be the fringe benefits of a good habit. And the habit is where you cultivate walking or running as a lifestyle, where you know that 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, daily, I get in my steps. I get in my 45 minutes. I get in my 30 minutes. I get in my 1 hour. And all the others now become the fringe benefits of the habits that you have cultivated for walking and running.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, so to get started, a lot of people find that really really hard. So I usually give my clients give them tips like I'll say walk during the hard seasons, running after the grief and stress. My clients go through like a lot of emotional stuff, so they use the running as a way not just to escape but also to just get moving.
Hmm.
And I love encouraging families to get out there and run together because, there's so many free park runs like in most of the big towns. So it's a great way for families to get out there and spend time together, get off their devices and do something, have a common goal together and, come home feeling refreshed. And kids then have a different mindset, don't they?
Yeah, walking, just like it says, many a times it's not easy to start a good habit or to start a habit, because to start a habit, it means that that habit is going to replace another habit. And because many people are usually comfortable in their comfort zone, to change that habit becomes a challenge. And so for one to start the habit of walking or running, sometimes like me, sometimes I just walk in my house. I walk from one end of the wall to the other end of the wall. when I don't have the energy to step out of the gate. I just get out of the room, and then I walk from one wall to the other, and then to the other, and then to the other, and then I get in my steps. So sometimes it's as easy as starting from your home. Just get out of the room, walk from one end of the wall to the other end of the wall, walk to the other end of the wall. Just start like that. Maintain the consistency, and then after that, you can now step out of the wall, or step out of the home, or hit into the gym. If you've got a gym in your home, it could be as simple as getting on the treadmill. Just tell yourself, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to just do 10 minutes. And by so doing, you realize that once you get on the treadmill for that 5 minutes, you are now inspired and encouraged to do another five, to do another five. And then as the days go on, you'll find yourself enjoying what you're doing. And then it becomes a habit. And so that is what I usually encourage people to do. Start with the baby steps. If you have a family, your spouse and your kids, you can have a meeting and say, you know what, we need to keep healthy together as a family. So this is what we can do. We can hit the gym together, or we can do periodic walks. Do we do it in the morning? Do we do it in the afternoon? Do we do it in the evening? Agree as a family and then do it. Because the family that do activities together usually have a strong bond together. But families that do not do activities together, many a times can easily fall apart. So
Yeah.
running together as a family is a very good way to bond. Working together as a family is an excellent way to bond as a family. So I would encourage families to do these activities together. It's very, very important for a strong family unit.
Definitely. And getting back to resilience, I often hear people thinking like resilience is, they think having resilience is never struggling. But mental resilience, like when I was younger, I used to think, when I get to an adult, when I'm an adult, when I get to a certain age, I have this thing in my head, I'll have it all worked out. Everything will be easy. I'll have a great job. I'll live in a big house. Prince Charming will have come by then. He'll come on the white horse. And you just think that, other people seem to be having an easier life than you are. And so it's hard for people if they've got this mentality in their heads that it's like they expect to struggle.
Resilience in itself, when you look at the word resilience in itself, it simply means resistance. So there cannot be resistance if there are no challenges, if there's no attack, if there's no pressure. And so mental resistance, in my own definition, is the ability to withstand the challenges that come your way. Now, the process of having a strong mindset, having a strong mind, which now we call the mental resilience. Now, it comes from different factors. It comes from inspiration, from motivation, but also from exercising. Because for you to have a strong mental resilience, the body also needs to be healthy. And remember that the brain is also a part of the body. And apart from exercising the brain with knowledge, with exposure, and with experiences, we also need to feed the brain physically. So what you eat and how you exercise greatly impacts the brain. If you don't eat the right food and you don't exercise your body, eventually the brain can become fatigued in so many ways. That is why it's very important, if one is focusing on mental resilience, the person needs to have a holistic approach, not just listening to motivational speakers, not just listening to inspirational messages in the morning. Yes, they are good. However, other activities are also very important to help the brain toughen up and become stronger. And some of those activities are walking and running, or walking or running. We need these activities to give us that mental toughness that we need.
So it's just getting moving. It's like, when you read a book and it's a great book, But unless you're going to implement what you've learned in the book, there's, you've wasted your time reading it, really, because you might have the information, the theory in there. But if you're not going to implement the, the education that book is giving you, then you're not going to make any changes.
Indeed. I put it this way. Wisdom is the right application of knowledge. But between knowledge and wisdom, you need understanding. And so once you acquire knowledge and understanding, without application, you are considered foolish. Because wisdom is the application of the understanding you have acquired through the knowledge. And so once you have the understanding, and yet you're not putting it to the right place, then you are considered foolish. And so I would always inspire people and encourage people, grab the knowledge. But apart from grabbing the knowledge, grab understanding. And then with the understanding, give yourself the needed tools to implement. And the needed tools includes coaches like us, includes friends, includes family, includes anyone who can inspire you to now effect the change, who can inspire you to now put the acquired knowledge and understanding into action. And that is one reason why we are here, to inspire anyone watching us to say, get moving.
Yes, because it's all about the small, consistent habits, isn't it? Like you say, I love that example you gave us where, start at home, start in your comfort zone, just get out of the chair, walk up and down. Imagine how many steps you could do if you were even to just go up and down, the length of the room a few times. And if you were to do that, say 2 or 3 times a day, you'd have lots of steps in no time, wouldn't you?
Indeed. I would want to chip this in for our viewers, that there are many people who are struggling with obesity, struggling with physical health, struggling with overweight, struggling with pot bellies. And many a times they are wondering, how come? One of the reasons is because we don't do enough walking. We don't do enough steps. We don't do enough movement. Because in today's world, because of modernization, we do from your bed, probably go to the washroom, use toilet. From there, you take a shower. You come, you sit to maybe have breakfast. After eating breakfast, you just do some small movement into your car. You sit in your car. You drive. You get to your office or wherever the destination is. You do just a little walking to your office. You get to your office. You sit for the greater period of time. Probably the only time you move is when you have to go to the urinary or to go to the washroom, or maybe to go for lunch. There are a lot of people who even have lunch right at their desk. And so the only time they move is when they've closed from work and they move to their car. From their car, they get home, they park the car, they do a little walk, and they go and sit on the sit to have dinner. From dinner, they sit to watch television, and then from sitting, they go to bed. And so you notice that there's very little movement for a lot of us in today's world, and that is contributing greatly to deteriorating health. On top of it, because of our phones and our gadgets, a lot of us don't have enough sleep. We don't have good sleep because we go into bed, we're on our gadgets.
I was exactly going to talk about that, yeah.
Exactly. So we don't have enough sleep. We don't have better sleep. We don't have good sleep. And so altogether, we are self-sabotaging without knowing. And then now we want to now pop medications instead of get moving, instead of changing these habits, doing a lot of walking, doing running, hitting to the gym. We rather want the easy route out, which ultimately does not really provide a lot of solutions by popping medications. So I would definitely encourage us to get moving. Just get your steps in.
Definitely, because it affects everything, doesn't it? If you're moving, you're going to sleep better because you're going to, the body's going to be tired. It's going to need that sleep. So, and one thing affects the other, because if you don't sleep, then you actually put on more weight because the body has to work harder, to keep you moving because you're going to be tired, etc. So, yeah, the best thing you can do for yourself is to keep active.
Definitely. Very, very important.
Great. And so, mental resilient habits, sleep, movement, recovery, having boundaries. Boundaries are very important. I guess you probably teach your clients a lot about boundaries, because sometimes our biggest problem is ourselves. Because if we don't have those boundaries in place, then we will do things we don't want to do, things that we don't enjoy doing, and then we'll blame that other person, and then we start to feel a victim. But really, the reason we feel a victim is because we didn't set those boundaries in the first place.
Yes. First of all, before you even set the boundaries, as we have said earlier, you need to start with you. You need to identify who
The
you
man
are.
in the mirror.
Exactly, the man in the mirror. So the first question that before you even get to the boundaries, because boundaries has to do with basically the simplest form of definition is your likes and dislikes. Those are boundaries. But how do you know your likes and dislikes if you don't know who you are? And so the first step is to ask the man in the mirror, who are you? And it shouldn't just be a rhetoric question. It should be a deliberate, intentional question. And when you ask that question, you need to find an answer to that question. Who are you? What are you? Where are you going? How do you get there? Once you answer these questions, then it becomes easier for you to identify the tools you need for your personal well-being. Because these descriptions we're given and recommendations we're given, it's not a one-size-fits-all. For someone, walking will be the best for them. For another, jogging may be the best for them. For another, running may be the best for them. For another, a combination of physical exercises may be what they need. And for you to identify the exact pattern or the exact strategy, you need to identify who you are, where you are, and where you're going. So let's start with that. Because for you to even have, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's like the small habits, isn't it? It's the small habits create the strong mind.
Exactly. So once you identify yourself, then you now need to identify the things you need to do to get there. And remember, many a times people try to focus on the big gains and the big things, but we forget to realize that the big mansion you see was built one brick at a time.
Absolutely.
One brick at a time, which is one step at a time. For you to get 10,000 steps in a day, it starts with one step. And that one step are the little things that you start doing. And those little things become the big habits. What are the little things? As we have said, walk in your house within your comfort zone. Number two, conscientize yourself to sleep better. Put your phone away where need be. Make sure that within certain periods of time, your phone is either on flight mode or on sleeping mode, so you can have good quality sleep. Cultivate the habit of exercising, mental exercising, inspirational activities for yourself. These are some of the things you need. However, it starts.
And that has been an amazing discussion. It feels like it's been 5 minutes, and yet we've actually run out of time. So we'll wrap up on habits, and I think we should give our listeners a bit more, because that was such an interesting topic. I feel so motivated now. I want to get out there and I want to do something.
Indeed, indeed. As I said earlier, cultivating a habit is not easy. And that's the truth, because change in itself is not easy. And so, first of all, identify who you are, identify what you want to do, identify what you want to achieve. And for the purposes of this discussion, you want to get moving, you want to get running, you want to get walking. And that is what you want to do. Now identify the best time for you to do this. After you have done that, schedule it. When you schedule it, it's better for you to write it and paste it somewhere you can see. Because anytime you see it, it speaks to you.
Yes.
Which means that if you don't do it, when you see it on the wall, you feel guilty that you haven't done it. So that is another layer of inspiration.
That's a great tip.
Once you have it pasted on the wall, the next thing that you may want to do is to get accountable partners. Get someone who can hold you accountable. It could be your spouse. It could be your child. It could be your parent. It could be a friend, a neighbor, anyone that you respect enough to hold you accountable for what you want to achieve. Sit with the person or talk with the person. This is what I want to do. Can you help me to be consistent? And can you hold me accountable? Once you do that, get moving. Start with baby steps. You cannot just decide that you want to have 10,000 steps in a day. If you have the capacity, bingo, go for it. If not, start with 1,000 steps. Start with 2,000 steps. Start with 3,000 steps. Just get moving and build on that.
So even something simple like putting your goal on, say, a Post-it pad and then, pinning it to the fridge with a magnet. You're going to open the fridge every single day,
Exactly.
So you're going to see that. And like you say, it's going to be like, it's like the little angel and the little devil sitting on your shoulder. One says,
exactly.
moving, and the other one says, no, don't, put on Netflix.
Exactly. I've got my whiteboard even in my bedroom where I have I have the list of things I got to do. And so the times that I don't feel like doing it, the moment I just turn and see it, I feel guilty. So just have to get going. And so I think it's a very good way to inspire yourself. And there's a layer that many people don't even usually consider. Our children. Once you tell your child, especially those little ones, the 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, and say, you know what, baby, I want to go walking every day at 4 p.m. Can you remind me to do it? Oh man, it's like you said a robot.
Excellent. I love that. Because like my kids, you make promises and then they would say, Mom, you always taught us never say something that you cannot, that you cannot deliver, basically. So yeah, I love that idea. Love that idea.
Yeah. So many a times your kids become a great way for you to be accountable because you don't want your words to conflict your actions, and you don't want to teach them that it's okay to break promises. It's okay to make plans and not fulfill those plans. So many a times your kids are a good way for you to be accountable. And it's also a very good way to start with them. Do it with them.
Yeah, be an inspiration.
Exactly.
So
do the walking with them.
It's been amazing talking to you, Ben. And what would I know you have a few books out. What book would you suggest, our listeners start with that will give them a little bit more information about what we're talking about today?
For my books, I've got 6 books on Amazon. And for what we're talking about today, I would encourage them to go get my book, which is an inspirational journal. The title is Refocus. Refocus is to help you, just as the name is, refocus, to get yourself doing the things that you want to do that you have neglected from doing. It's a 30-day journal, which will help you to take it one day at a time. The second book I would recommend is the book titled When It Rains, It Pours, but It Won't Rain Forever. That book is for people who feel like giving up. Yes. People who feel like they don't have the energy to do it no more, the energy to go on. And it has a bit of my personal story because I wrote that book out of my personal pain or my personal challenges or my personal issues. And I felt that people need to be encouraged with this as well, because I'm not the only one who feels like giving up sometimes. I'm not the only one who sometimes doesn't have the energy to push on. And there are a lot of other people out there who also need the same inspiration that I have. And that's why I wrote that book. It's a very simple read that you can just get done in no time. However, it's a very powerful book that will inspire you not to give up. Because the truth is, the challenges will not stop coming.
No.
However, just like we're discussing today, you need the mental resilience and the physical attitude and habit to counteract the challenges that will come your way. And books like When It Rains, It Pours will help you to have that mental resilience to fight the challenges when they come your way.
Well, I know our listeners are going to find our topic and discussion today. I'm sure they'll be hungry for more. So I think we should give them another session. What do you think?
I believe so. I believe we can have another session to inspire our viewers and listeners.
So our next session is very important as well, because that is like the physical connection between, your physical health and your relationship health.
Wonderful.
So
I believe it will be a very beautiful discussion.
Tune in to our next podcast. We will give you more information about that, and we'll give you information about how you can contact yourself and how they can access your books.
My book's on Amazon. You can just search Benjamin Tagoe, and you go on my page on Amazon. You can order on Kindle, or you can order the paperback. On my social media handles, once you search The Apostle of Change, I'm gonna pop up everywhere, and you can follow me on TikTok, on Clapper, on Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere. Once you put in The Apostle of Change or hashtag The Apostle of Change, I'm gonna pop up and you'll find me.
Excellent. So yes. So till next time, Benjamin, thank you so much for today. I have got so much out of it myself. So it was a really good topic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for giving us your time and for being here today. And we'll be in touch and carry on our session for next time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Loved it. Thank you for striding through this episode with us. It's been fun. And if you'd like to know more, then please do join our Facebook community. And we'd love to hear your stories. Please do bombard us with your questions. And the link is in the notes below. We can offer a limited amount of online consultations. If you have any concerns, any questions, you're diabetic, you want us to have a look at your shoes, whatever you feel you need, we can communicate with you online. And if you have something that we feel you maybe need to go and see the doctor, or we need to refer you on, we'll also tell you that as well. So please do find us on the website, and we'll give you the link below. And because we value our listeners, we have a little gift for you. So we have a free runner's guide, which you can access, and it'll have lots of hints and tips, and you can also keep it as a reference point. So the link will be below. And do remember, guys, that your physical health and your mental well-being are very closely connected. Because when you feel strong, you move your body, it has a positive impact on every aspect of your life, including giving you more confidence, a better mindset, and generally increase your happiness levels.